Tahar, or Apostle Tahar, excuse me, coming back at you once again, giving all praise to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushua B'Hashem Kodash. And I'm going to entitle this video, Captivity and Slavery, How to Understand It. And when I say how to understand it as far as the scriptures are concerned, as far as the Most High is concerned. If you lead somebody into captivity, you will go into captivity. This is all throughout the scriptures. Nations that became greater than other nations took nations over. And if they were powerful enough, they took other nations over, and that was called an empire. The first major empire on the earth, there were others before that, but one of the major empires, I'll say one of them, is the Egyptian captivity. And when you read the account in the scriptures about Joseph, he gave the Pharaoh inside information through a dream. In other words, a dream, it was all based upon a dream. And the only one that can interpret the dream, Joseph was a dreamer himself. He was a dreamer and an interpreter of dreams, just like Daniel was with the king of Babylon. And he showed the Pharaoh at that time what to do concerning the dream of the cattle. 7 cattle were lean, and then the same 7 cattle. I'm not going to go into the whole details of it. So there was like 2 separate parts of the dream. The first part were the lean cattle, and the second part of the dream was the cattle that was emaciated. And Daniel broke it down, saying that represents, your kingdom, that there's going to be 7 years of plenty, and then there's going to be 7 years of famine. And so what happens in the ancient world, Israel has the Feast of Weeks, the ingathering. You have the ingathering, the former and the latter rain. When you look that up, the former and the latter rain is talking about the ingathering. There's 2 ingatherings. One during the time of the Passover, which is the springtime, and then one going into the fall, before winter. The early and the latter rain. You can look that up. And that's how what happened was you would, gather your crop, whatever it may be, wheat, corn, whatever it is, and you would store it. You would eat from it, and you would store the rest, for the winter months. Now, if you didn't know, that year was going to be a bad year, what people would do is they would store for 2 years or maybe even 3 years, because you had, bad, the crop didn't come in the way you wanted it to come in. And that's what causes famine. So at the advice, which was from the spirit of Joseph to the king of Egypt, was, okay, we got to prepare. We'll have the plenty for the first 7 years, and the second 7 years, we have to have enough to cover us for 7 years, and then beyond the 7 years. So the main thing when in a famine, You can have all the gold in the world. You can have whatever. You are ready to give that up to eat. That's what really makes the people go crazy. The fact that they can't eat, they can deal with. You have enough clothes. You know, you can deal with your clothes. You know, you don't got to buy clothes for a while. But guess what? You got to eat every day. You got to eat in the morning and midday and at night. So that's why Egypt became great. And in becoming great, they enslaved the people. And this is just a history of slavery. They enslaved the people in order for them to eat. And there was a new pharaoh that knew not Joseph, because Joseph made the previous pharaoh great. And they pretty much said, well, these people are getting big. You know, if an enemy comes up against us, they might join into the enemy. So let's put them in slavery. And that's what you do. You don't understand how governments work. You don't understand how kingdoms work. You don't understand how small kingdoms become great kingdoms or become empires. They become empires. It's not you can't be a nice guy and form an empire and take over other nations, because you're saying, look, we taking what you got and you're gonna be our slaves, or you're gonna pay us tribute. That was in the movie 300 and many other movies. The movie 300, where you had the messenger come and basically he said, look, we here to take your kingdom. And the Spartans said, nah, we're gonna fight. So that's what those scenes in the movie, or they're fighting against the Persians at that time. You know, you had the Persian and Mede Empire. They had a great power to take over nations. So the Greeks said, look, we'll fight and we'll die. This is what the 70 AD was all about. They put a stronger hand on the Israelites and those other nations. And they taxed them even more. This situation, they're saying that Putin is evil for what he's doing. He's just doing what an emperor does. He sees a weak land and he takes it. How do you think America became great? The Lord just gave it to them? No, they had to kill and fight against the so-called North American Indians. And to build their land up, mainly from this, what made this land great is the South, the southern states, because they had slaves. If you have a business, the hardest part of the business is the overhead. If you do you do a certain week, you make a certain amount of money. The first thing that comes out of that money is the overhead. You got to pay your workers. You got to pay for the building. You got to pay for the gas, the electric. You got to pay for insurance. There's a lot of overhead. And then from that overhead, when you pay that overhead, the rest is yours. And this is how businesses go out of business, because they can't afford the overhead any longer. So they lay people off. But in the case of America, they enslaved people. So they said, look, we ain't got too much of an overhead. All we got to do is put these niggas in shacks, feed them some slop, hang them, whip them, beat the shit out of them, put the fear of God in their heart, and they'll work for us, man. So, you know, slavery will always be here. Slavery, captivity will always be here. But the only difference is the faces will change. The nations will change. The reason why so-called quote unquote black people are here from Africa, why was he brought over here? To be slaves. That's the only reason why we were brought over here to be slaves, mostly from the West Coast. And those people that you enslaved were Israelites. And the reason why you enslaved us because the Most High put the spirit on you to enslave us. That's how it works. You might say it's wicked. You might say it's evil. It's just how the way, that's just the way of the world. Just the way of the world. You got a guy that's a bully, right? And he bullies certain guys. And then one of the guys that he's bullies over the summer, this guy shoots up 5 inches. He gets muscles. His pop sent him to the boxing gym. He's a jujitsu guy. The big bully gonna look at him and like, I don't know about this guy. And this guy might say, look, I remember what you did to me last year. I'm gonna beat your ass. And that's the new bully on the block. America at one time was the bully on the block of these other nations. That's why the scriptures say Joel 3 and Isaiah 14. It says, let the weak say I'm strong. What's the great equalizer? The ICBM missiles, the missile technology, the hypersonic missile system. That's the great equalizer. So right now we're in a time of these nations that were under the hegemony. Look that word up. Hegemony of the West, Europe, United States, NATO, the EU. They see it being weak. So now they're gonna say, look, we're gonna do what the fuck we want to do. Look at America's sick, NATO's sick. You know, the Biden is a sleepy Joe. There's a video going around, it became viral, of Saudi Arabia because Joe Biden is trying to build relations back with Saudi Arabia. And there was this comedy group that had this guy, made him up to look like Joe Biden, and they had another man who made him up to look like what's his name, Harris. And he kept falling asleep. So the whole world sees what America does. You know, at one time America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a cold or flu. Russia, they're sneezing on Ukraine, and the whole world's they feeling it, man. They're feeling it with higher prices. So these other nations see this, you know, they no longer respect the petrodollar. Look that up. They're doing their own things because they have the great equalizer to back them up. You know, it says in, as a matter of fact, I'm going to read it. Okay, let me open up another tab. Let me open up another tab. Psalms 2. And I'll read it real quick. Very short, 12 verses. Why do the heathen raise? The heathen represents the other nation, and the people imagine a vain thing. The heathen, the other nations, they're imagining who's going to be the next big power. And China's up in there. Russia, world power. Russia, world power. China, India, another world power. Do you know there's as many Indians as are Chinese? We're talking China's population is over 1 billion. India's population is over 1 billion. They can put together a 10 million man army and sacrifice that army. The United States, the population is a little more than 330 million, nowhere near a billion. So the nations see that. Even Jordan Maxwell, he recently passed. He said the power of a government or kingdom is its people. You know, you have one kingdom that has 100 million people. You have another kingdom that has 110 million people, and you have a small kingdom with 500,000. Jordan Maxwell said, "Oh, you might as well just stay home. They ain't gonna listen to you." It says, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, the Israelites. But now they're taking secret counsel against themselves." They do have an alliance. All these major nations around the world, how can I say, accepted, recognized nations around the world, and we're not recognized as a nation. We don't have no representatives. The Israelites have no representative to be in the UN. It said, "Let us break their bounds asunder and cast away their cords from us." That's Israel. They scattered us. "He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. Yahweh shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure." So the Most High is getting ready to, Yahweh by Shem Yahushua is getting ready to come. And he's ready to take this kingdom down. And part of the kingdom being taken down is the stronger kingdom enslaves the other nation or the other nations. The Roman Empire became great because it took one by one, it took down other nations. And they said, "We're not going to necessarily put you into slavery, but we're going to be over you, and all you got to do is pay a tax, which is a tribute, and we won't bother you. You can believe in your God and all that." During the time of the Maccabees, Antiochus Epiphanes, he said, "No, you're going to be our slaves. You're going to learn how to speak Greek. You're going to dress like a Greek person. You know, you're going to eat what the Greeks eat. And you're going to be Greeks." That's why when you go to the New Testament and you come across the word Greek, it's talking about Israelites that were Hellenized. It says, 5th verse, "Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them with his sore displeasure." The Most High is going to do it, not us. The scripture says, "Wait ye upon me till I rise up to the prey." And the prophets have no business getting involved on any type of level. The only job that the prophets have that the Most High gave us was to prophesy. And the word prophesy simply means to say before. Now, we've been saying for the longest that the MOTB is a fulfillment of Revelation chapter 13. You know the rest. And these other camps bucked up against it. What's going to come to pass? What we've been saying. It said, "Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. Yahweh has said unto me, thou art my son." He's talking to Yahushua. Now, this is something that you should show to the Old Testament only Israelites. What does this mean? And the son came over 2,000 years ago. "This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance." Now, heathen means two things. It means lands, and it also means nations. "Ask of me, and I will give thee the heathen for thy inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession." You can read about that in Amos 9. 11 on down. When it said we shall possess Edom, it's talking about the land of Edom, because we're going to scatter Edom among the Israelites because they're going to be slaves. They're not going to have no land to go to. They're going to be sleeping in slave quarters. If you want to dig holes, have them dig holes and have them sleep in a damn hole. They're going to get too much sleep any damn way. They need to get their mind right as far as going into captivity. And this is the main reason why they're demonizing the Israelites. They're not demonizing the Kemetic community. They're not a threat. The Israelites are a threat. When I say a threat, a spiritual threat. The one that's going to threaten you is the Most High. We don't have no power. The Most High, through Isaac, gave the sword to Esau, right? Esau still got that sword. His military might. You know, his military powers. If you think you're going to fight against Esau, dealing with his blessing that Isaac gave him, you're sadly mistaken. The Most High has to come. The Most High has to come. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost part of the earth for thy possessions. So if he's going to give it to his son, he's going to give it to us as well, because we're his sons. Thou shalt break, here it comes, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. So we're not going to be nice slave masters. We're going to be rough. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings, be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to serve the Lord. With fear and rejoicing, rejoice with trembling, kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. We put our trust in the Most High. And as prophets, we're telling the people, not just Israel, we're telling the people. This message is really going out to two people, the Israelites and the Edomites. Because the Edomites are the ones that are they're demonizing us with guys like Vocab Malone. Because they're really in fear. They fear what we're going to do when the Most High raises us up. That's why Vocab did a video. He went to the Pew Research Center and he gathered the information and he broke it down that 25% of Jake in America identified himself with Hebrew Israelites. In the Kemetic community, you can't compete with this. The whole Hebrew Israelite vibe is just over. When you look up the word doctrine, the first precept that comes up with the word doctrine in it is Deuteronomy, I believe it's 32 verse 2. It says, my doctrine shall reign. I'm not going to read it, but somebody can put it up. But I go through it from time to time. In other words, it's going to cover everything. It's going to saturate everything. So that's a small number compared to the Jakes that are in this country. But we're talking 13 million people, so that's a big number. And there's no way you, Vocab, or anybody else can turn that. You can't turn these Jakes around. You might get one or two. You might get your twos and your fews. But I guarantee you the twos and the fews that you're going to get are weak. They're straddling the fence. You're not going to get the ones that are on fire in the spirit. You're not going to get the prophets, the elect. It says in Matthew 24, if it be possible, the very elect will be deceived. But it's not possible because the Most High put a spirit on us. He gave us what's called eye salve that we may see. See, we don't look at the shit that comes on the news, the war in Russia and Ukraine, the recent, this guy, James Franks or whatever, Frank James, whatever his name is, he went on the subway. You know, average people look at it with on one level. We look at it on a whole different level. Everything that we look at, we filter it through the spirit, which is the comforter, which is the scripture, the Bible, the word of the Most High. And like I said, they're afraid. It said they stood upon their feet, and the ones around them in Revelation 11 were frightened. And that army is going to be a spiritual army. It's not going to be a physical army. The sword was given to Esau. That's your blessing. Our blessing is going to be spiritual power. Like Magneto. But Magneto, he only had power over metals. Remember in the movie, one of the scenes in the movie, they locked him up and there was everything that they had was made out of plastic. And he had no power over the plastic or over rubber or over anything except metal. But guess what? We're going to have power over everything. We're going to be like all the X-Men rolled up in one. Remember, you had Pyro. He was able to shoot fire out of his ass. He was saying that's this guy William Wallace. He shoot fire out of his ass. He was able to shoot fire out of his hands and out of his eyes. Well, but he couldn't control metal. See, we're gonna have all of those. We're gonna be like superheroes. You read about the superheroes. You watch these movies. You know, the Avengers and the heroes from the DC comic. Look, we're gonna be like Brightburn, the little super kid, Superman. This time Superman came as an evil person. He came as an evil person. And my two favorite movies dealing with Superman is The Man of Steel and Brightburn. The Man of Steel and Brightburn. The other Superman movies, they're all right. But them two, man, especially Brightburn. That was a bad movie. Show you the other side of Kal-El. And we are the sons of the great power. We are the people, it's gonna sound crazy, but we are the people of Krypton, meaning Krypton means, let me look it up. They're gonna take that. See, the hard saying that we came from the planet Krypton. The hard is bugging out. And let me put in the word Krypton. 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 Wait a minute, is that an actual element? Hey, that's an actual element. I just want to get the Superman. Well, that's an actual element, Krypton. Is that on a periodic table of elements? Krypton. Let me try this. Superman. Superman. Krypton. Krypton is a fictional planet appearing in American comic book published by DC Comics. The planet was created by Jerry Siegel, so a small hat, and Joe Shutter, another small hat, and was named after the chemical element krypton. So that's an actual element. The home world of Superman, it was first mentioned in Action Comic #1 and made its first appearance in Superman 1. I say it says characters: Superman, Joel, which is Yara Allah. I see he sees the power, or he sees God. Where's Kal-El? They don't give you kind of. Well, these creators these are small hats. These are small hats. So they're basically saying that Superman was really an Israelite, but they were saying he's a so-called white, so-called Israelite. But we are those people, you know. Now I thought it was going to say Krypton represented secret, but it didn't. Anyway, we're going to be superhuman. We're going to be extraterrestrial. We're going to have physical bodies on a high level and angelic attributes within our body. We're going to be angelic beings on the planet Earth, but we're going to live on the physical Earth. The angels could come down in the form of men. Remember the two men? It was three men. Then it was two men. When you go back to Genesis with Abraham and the situation with Lot, it was three men. The three represent two angels, two archangels, and then the third man represent Yahweh Shai. Now it doesn't say in the scriptures, you can't say, well, no, it is in the scriptures. It's in the sacred book of Barnabas, or it's the secret writings of Miriam, the prophetess. No, we can't prove exactly who they are. We can't say that was Michael and that was Gabriel. We don't know. But there was three men that came that visited Abraham. And what was the first thing that they did? They had ate a calf. So they came down in human form. They took on human bodies, and they were able to eat. They were able to breathe. They were able to, feel. They were angels in human bodies. And then later in that account, you had the two angels to come get Lot. And then you had men of the city that said, look, we want to know them. Meaning they wanted to have a homosexual relations with them. And what these two men did, which were angels, they blinded these men. So what did they have? They had superpower. They had superpower. Superhuman power. They were angels inside of human bodies. And that's what we're going to be. We're going to be the supermen and the super woman and the super children of the universe. You're not going to look at a Hamite and mistake him for an Israelite. Because one thing that we're going to have on us is a glow. Daniel chapter 12. So you got to get ready for captivity, man. That's part of the program. That's part of the program. So what I did was I just type in the word captivity, and I'll read some of these precepts. Psalm 14, verse 7. Oh, that the salvation of Israel will come out of Zion when the Lord Yahweh bringeth back the captivity of his people. So we're looking for the Most High to bring us back from captivity. And we are in captivity. You got, as long as you got a social security card and a birth certificate and a driver's license, all that stuff that you got from adhesion contracts, you under this system, you captivity. You on a higher level than going back like 200 years ago, 150, 200 years ago. Bring back Yahweh, Yahweh bring back captivity of his people. Jacob, so you know it's talking about Israel, shall rejoice and Israel shall be glad. So when the Most High takes us out of captivity, he ain't taking nobody else out of captivity. It says the same exact thing in the 53rd chapter. Psalm 126 and 1. When Yahweh turned again the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream, because it's going to be waking up from a dream. We're going to wake up to reality, which is the kingdom. And in our kingdom, we're going to have servants. We're going to have slaves. Psalms 126 and 4, turn again our captivity, O Yahweh, as the streams of the south. Isaiah 22, verse 17, behold, the Lord will carry thee away with a mighty captivity and will surely cover thee. And we've been in many captivities. Our first captivity, we were born as a nation in the captivity in Egypt. Jeremiah 15, verse 2, and it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith Yahweh, such as are for death to death, and such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. So we're going to go from one captivity to another captivity. During the lifetime of Jeremiah, that was during the time of the Babylonian captivity. So when Jeremiah prophesied concerning Babylon, he prophesied about the ancient Babylon, and he prophesied about the new Babylon, which Jeremiah didn't even understand that was talking about this captivity, current captivity today. When you read Jeremiah 50 and Jeremiah 51, Jeremiah 29, verse 14, and I will be found of you, saith Yahweh, and I will turn away your captivity, and I will gather you from all nations. So any nation that Jake is set up, they're ultimately under Esau, because Esau controls the whole planet. And from all the places whither I have driven you, saith Yahweh, and I will bring you again into the place whence I cause you to be carried away captive. '16 verse. Know that thus saith Yahweh of the king that sitteth upon the throne of David. The physical king on the earth and the kingdom shall be King David. The king that will be over him is Yahweh Shai, which was Solomon. Solomon's kingdom, it was just put on, the Most High just hit the pause button on Solomon's kingdom. So when the Most High spoke about Solomon's kingdom being an everlasting kingdom that shall not have an end, it didn't have an end. It's on pause. And of all the people that dwelleth in this city, and of your brethren that are not gone forth with you in the captivity. This is important right here. And your brethren that are not gone forth with you in the captivity. Now, vocab said, well, how can the Nigerians be Israelites when the fulfillment of them going into slave ship? Because when Jake was carried away to serve slavery under another nation, Don't you know some of them were put to death and they had to go back into the spiritual realm? Don't you know some of them escaped? Jeremiah 29, verse 28. For therefore he sent unto us into Babylon, saying, the captivity is long. And this is talking about ancient Babylon. Build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. And that captivity was for 70 years. Now the scriptures speak about if some nation puts another nation in captivity, they got to go into captivity under the nation that they put them into captivity. But this is a good one. Jeremiah 33, verse 7. And I will cause the captivity of Judah and the captivity of Israel to return, and will build them as at the first, meaning we're going to become superhuman, extraterrestrial / angelic beings. #26 verse, Jeremiah 33, verse 26. Then will I cast away the seed of Jacob. And in other words, this is dealing with, I got to go up a verse or two. It says, thus saith Yahweh, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinance of heaven and earth, then will I cast away the seed of Jacob and David my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers. Because ultimately we're going to be rulers over the nations, over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For I will cause their captivity to return and have mercy on them. So ultimately, the Most High is going to have mercy on us, even though we're in this captivity. I'm not going to read all of these. See, like right here, 49 verse 6, and afterwards I will bring again the captivity of the children of Ammon, saith Yahweh. So the Most High had nations put other nations in captivity, along with putting Israel into captivity. So now, the next big thing is the big payback, the change of worlds. Everything being spiritually flipped around. We are going to be the kings of this earth, and the other people are going to be under us. Jeremiah 49, verse 39. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith the Lord. So Elam are the Persians. Lamentations 1, verse 5. Her adversaries are the chief, her enemies prosper, for Yahweh hath afflicted her for the multitude of her transgression sins. Her children are gone into captivity before the enemy. Another good one, 18 verse, Lamentation 1 verse 18. Yahweh is righteous, for I have rebelled against his commandment. Here I pray you, all people, and behold my sorrow. My virgins and my young men are going into captivity. And, like Jeremiah, they attempted to kill Jeremiah because Jeremiah was prophesying against Israel as to what's going to happen to him. So, of course, they were going to hate this guy. They hated the prophets. O Jerusalem that slayeth the prophets. So now we prophesy to Israel saying that they're going to be risen up, and you Edomites and you other nations, you're going to be taken down. And like I said in the beginning of this video, this is why this man demonizes us, because they're afraid. Lamentation 4 verse 22, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion, which are we. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. Well, wait a minute. We went into captivity after the Babylonian captivity. Under the Greeks, under the Medo-Persians, under the Greeks, under the Romans. The current slavery that we're in now. So we know that this right here is talking about the last captivity, which is Esau's rulership. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. Because guess what? You took the Bible to yourself. Oh, I love this one, Ezekiel 3 and 11. And go get thee to them of the captivity, unto the children or the sons of thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, thus saith Yahweh, the Most High, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. But they're beginning to hear. Like I said, Vocab did a video, and he came to the conclusion through the Pew research that there's about almost 13 million Jakes out there that identify with being a Hebrew Israelite. Scripture said in Jeremiah, from the captivity to the captivity, right? I'm not going to read these precepts, but Daniel 5 verse 13, Daniel 6 verse 13. That was during the time of the Babylonian captivity, and the Persian, the Medes taking over the Babylonians, and we were under them. Hosea 6 and 11, also on Judah. He have set and harvest for thee when I return the captivity of my people. You notice he said Judah, not Israel, because Israel wasn't there. The kingdom of Israel was on the other side of the world. And then Esau came over there, starting from the late 1400s, going into the 1500s, and put them into slavery and killed them. So there was no way they were able to escape the curses. And then we came along, we were taken against our wills to the Americas to serve slavery. It says, for behold, in those days, and in that time when I will bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. Let me read this one, Amos 1, verse 6. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof. All these nations are going to be punished for what they did to the chosen people of the Most High, because they carried away captive the whole captivity to deliver them up to Edom. So Edom is still here. Ninth verse, Amos 1, verse 9. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom and remembered not the brotherly covenant. Amos 9, you really got to start at 11, 12 verse, dealing with the house of David. It says, and I will bring again the captivity of my people of Israel, and they shall build away cities and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. Now it says, let me go here. Let me click on this. Yeah, we're going to be planting gardens, but we're going to have people do it for us. That's right here in the 13th verse. Right here, this is a future prophecy. Amos 9 and 12 is yet to happen, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, which represents their land, and of all the heathen, all the lands which are called by my name, saith the Lord, that doeth this. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, which is the kingdom, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper. Who's the plowman? We are the plowman. We are the ones out there in the field. You know, you had house Negroes and field Negroes, and they plowed. They plowed in these plantations in the South. They picked cotton. They planted whatever. Cotton was a big thing. It says sugar, another big thing, mainly in the so-called Spanish areas of the Western Hemisphere. It says that the plowman shall overtake the reaper. The plowman is a slave man. The reaper are the ones that reap the benefits. That's why it says he reaps the benefits. Meaning when you plant, you have to plow, you have to plant the seeds, and when the seeds grow, you have to have somebody reap. So when they reap the benefits, meaning you are actually doing the reaping, but you're giving them the benefits. So there's going to be a change of positions. It says that the plowman shall overtake the reaper and the treader of grapes. That's us, him that soweth seed. And the mountain shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. '15 verse, and I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them. So when did this prophecy come to pass? Amos 9 and 15, no. It's getting ready to come to pass. Because we're not going to go into slavery no more, because we're not going to break the laws of the Most High, because the Most High is going to put the laws in our inward part, meaning he's going to program us to be perfect. I have given them, saith the Lord, thy power. Zechariah 14:2. I should start at 1. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses raffled, and the women ravished. And that's what happened to us and our women. And the same thing's gonna happen to y'all. Part of us taking you down is to ravish your woman. And half of the city shall go into captivity because, like I said, there was some that escaped, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Oh, here it goes. My favorite scripture, the one that vocab doesn't like. He hates this scripture. Revelation 13:10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Plain and simple. If you put somebody, if you enslave somebody, you got to be enslaved. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. There is the patience and the faith of the saints. We take this word captivity. I'm almost finished. I'm almost finished. Apocrypha. Baruch 2:32. And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. It's talking about now. Baruch 4:10. For I saw the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting brought upon them. The Most High enslaved us, but he used a nation to do it. Baruch 4:14. Let's see what that says. Let them that dwell about Zion come and remember ye the captivity of my sons and daughters, which the everlasting have brought upon them. So our sentence is over with. Baruch 4, and I believe I'll close it on that. Baruch 4:24. Like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation. So this prophecy right now from Baruch is getting ready to happen. From our power, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness and the everlasting. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom. And, this is to you Edomites out there that are afraid and nervous. Look, the only thing we're doing is telling you, the prophets are doing, is telling you what's going to happen to you. And you're not going to be alone. You're going to have them other nations with you, but you're going to get the biggest foot in your ass. With that, I'm going to say shalom.